Hello and welcome to Two Shots of Espresso with Colby Burchin and Serena Appel. Hello, Colby.
Hi, Serena. How are you?
I am so excited to introduce today's guest, who is mastering the modern seas of social media content across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. San Diego's own Ira Waldman has spent the last 6 years turning the yachting world into short form gold, pairing luxury storytelling with data driven strategy. Through Waldman Media, he's become the go to creator for brokers and marine brands who want to dominate social media. Let's dive in. Your two shots of espresso buzz starts right here.
Ira, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Serena, I want you to picture this. Ira, picture this. My wife and I, our daily routine, get the kids to bed, get some Netflix on. Before bed, we have to go on Instagram and see what Ira has posted. Reels, you name it, it is Lux living to its best. I can't tell you. Ira, well, first of all, my wife loves his voice. The voice is everything for her. And his description of these yachts are incredible. I'm so excited you're on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a really interesting world of mega yachts, super yachts, and it's a privilege to be able to be one of the voices that gets to share it to everyone else because it's a world that not many people get access to, and to have an insight where I'm able to kind of reveal some of the interesting stories behind it. It's really an interesting place to be right now.
What is the craziest yacht that you have seen or talked about?
Craziest yacht I've seen, I was in the south of France 2 months ago for the Cannes Yachting Festival, and that is where a lot of these yachts spend their summers. They're going to be cruising through the Med. And so I saw Breakthrough, which was I think it's 410-foot Fed ship that was commissioned by Bill Gates in 2024. And so it's an interesting story because he commissioned this yacht and then just decided he wasn't going to enjoy it. He's like, I'm going to put it on the open market. And so it was essentially an unused mega yacht, completely brand new. And so they put it on the brokerage market. They listed it for $645 million. And it actually sold for that list price, which marks the largest brokerage deal in history, that at least to public knowledge. And so it was anchored there I think it was in Antibes at the time. And so I was able to see that, which was incredible. It's a really interesting one. It's hydrogen powered. So it's both one of the largest and most expensive mega yachts, but it's also kind of pioneering a new style of propulsion. So kind of focused on eco-friendly propulsion and stuff like that. So that was a really interesting one. And in person, it's just incredible. It's the size of, a large apartment building.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
Colby
wild.
Colby deals with all those properties on land and you're seeing them on the sea. It must be just unbelievable. I mean, how much space is that in, like how expansive of a space and how much room do they need to bring that into, to bring it to, to dock it? I mean, like what does that look like?
That's a big challenge, especially like Colby, with you being in South Florida in that area. That's a huge concern for a lot of these boats because they can't come into super shallow areas. They might draft in, say, like 20 feet of water. So a lot of those intercoastal waterways, one, they're too long to get in there, and they're too deep. They can't get in there. So that's why a lot of them spend their summers in the Mediterranean, and then they go over to the Caribbean for the winter and stuff like that. And so a boat of that size, it is the kind of the stats behind it just get pretty absurd once they reach that size. And it's interesting too, because over the past probably 10 or 15 years, there have been more and more boats in that like 400-foot range, 400 foot plus. Like before, kind of say in the early 2000s, the only boats in that size range were getting delivered to the Middle East. That was just kind of like an oil money deal. But now you have an emergence of a lot of tech billionaires who have become fond of mega yachts. And so Mark Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin, Evan Spiegel, so all these tech founders, Jeff Bezos, they have mega yachts now, and they're all in that like 350 to 400 foot range, and the scale is pretty astronomical because realistically they're only going to have accommodations for 10 to 15 guests, but a boat of that size needs a crew of 50 to run it, which because just it's you're essentially operating a floating hotel. You know, you have so many systems, you need engineers, you need multiple captains, multiple chefs. The scope of the workload and the maintenance gets to be a pretty extreme scale.
Can you imagine what that episode of Below Deck would look like? I mean, with teams of people, like cleaning and preparing, like the behind the scenes production that you really don't see is like, I mean, I can't even believe that there's more people on that ship than there are guests.
That's the strange thing on a lot of these, that are the numbers. You know, that even some of the smaller ones, I'm good friends with the crew on a 190-foot Trinity that charters here on the West Coast. They take 12 guests, but they have a crew of 14. And so even on a relatively smaller boat, they still have that disparity between more crew than guests.
So, what do you think about this surge for buying these yachts? What do you think is propelling that forward?
It's interesting. So I'm pretty sure 2023 there were more mega yachts delivered than any other year. So 2023 was the peak, and then 2024 was still strong, and I think 2025 will beat 2024. Not as much as kind of that post-COVID peak, but it's still there's more and more and bigger and bigger. And so I think what it is, and it's an interesting one because the choices that these buyers obviously the age has come down drastically because in 90s early 2000s a lot of the people buying yachts were like manufacturing titans. They'd built their career and their wealth over like 40 or 50 years. Now it was time to buy a mega yacht because they're spending $150 million. Well, now you have tech founders like Evan Spiegel was worth $1 billion at age 25. And so you have people who whether it's tech or real estate development, something like that, they have a lot of income really quickly. And so the briefs on how they're building these yachts has changed. So say in the early 2000s, it was all kind of about status and prestige. A lot of the interiors were a lot of marble, gold furniture, things like that, like really, really opulent. And in the past few years, the briefs for these constructions have changed. Now it's a lot more like reclaimed wood, natural materials. They're focusing less on kind of this showy wealth and more on a lifestyle and a wellness focus. So we see a lot of the current mega yachts have spas built in, beach clubs, and it's more of a lifestyle rather than a display of wealth. The tech billionaires now are using these as places where they can go and still work from their yacht, take their Zoom calls. They have all the Starlink installed, but they can be anywhere in the world. And so I always compare it to, pretty much when you reach that level of wealth, it's jets and super yachts. Those are kind of where your money's going. And it's jets are buying you back time, because it's reducing your travel time, but yachts are being used to extend time. And people are spending more and more time, and it's a whole lifestyle component with a wellness kind of lens.
I think the ultimate wellness is being on the water. I mean, how amazing and rejuvenating it is to just be on the expanse of the seas and on the waterways. So, wow, all those add-ons really do, in fact, deliver a true wellness experience.
It's so true.
Yeah, definitely.
Support vessels are all the rage. That's all you hear about today. Why? What's going on with these support vessels?
Totally. It is really interesting to see. There's now yachts that are either main yachts that have a support element to it or just dedicated support yachts. A lot of them are built by Damen Yachting. They kind of have pioneered that lens. So Zuckerberg, at least his first support yacht was like 175-foot Damen. And so I think this is for that lifestyle element because it's less of a look at me purchase, even though anytime you're spending probably over $100 million, it is a bit of a look at me. But, more of these kind of lifestyle focuses where someone's like, hey, I want to spend an extended period of time. So how is, this support yacht going to hold the extra fuel needed to go across the Atlantic or to spend, extended periods of time in really remote locations and have the crew, the supplies, the food, and then all the toys to go with it. So that's a whole nother element. It's personal submarines, wakeboarding boats, tenders, speed boats. I published a video yesterday on Hodor, which is one of the most iconic support vessels, and it has like a 53-foot Nortec, a chase boat, a full-on catamaran speedboat that's doing like 100 miles an hour. It's got 9 jet skis, ATVs, landing crafts, submarine, everything, because it's that full lifestyle that people are pursuing, and these support vessels just support that. It's kind of the extension to it, and in a way, it lets these main yachts become a the architectural design doesn't have to support, it doesn't have to necessarily have a crane built into it, because you have a support yacht that's going to carry your tenders. So now these can have much more beautiful designs, way more minimalist, and these cool modern yacht architecture that doesn't necessarily have to have a few boats on top of it. The support yacht takes care of all that.
I can't remember what yacht it was you were describing probably a couple months ago, and the bottom floor was submerged underwater with the windows, so you could see the water through. It was like out of my mind. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think that was Savannah, but there's a lot of yachts like that that have, it's called a Neptune room. It's a design feature and it's cool. It's kind of, I think Kismet, which is one of the most popular charter yachts,
Yeah,
I believe they have like a cinema where half of it's underwater and it has glass windows where you can see it out. I've never been in a room like that, but that'd be pretty incredible.
that's sick. Okay, so I want to know your take on wooden yachts. For instance, Afra, because it's gorgeous. Will it hold its value? Will people like that?
It's interesting. The owner or the owner's friend I was talking to yesterday about that boat, which was really interesting. And so it's at the Dubai Boat Show, I believe, right now. And so I was talking to them and they were sending me some photos of it on display because they're trying to sell that boat for 8.995 million. And I believe it's 110, no, it's 130 feet. And so that's an interesting one. It has an incredibly unique look. There's nothing really that looks like it because it has modern architecture, but the full exterior is like Burmese teak, which on a boat of that scale, 8.99 million for a boat that was built 5 years ago is super cheap, mainly because that is a maintenance nightmare. So
Right.
on average, you're going to be spending 10% of a yacht's value on the maintenance. So a $100 million yacht, $10 million a year is going to go to crew, maintenance, fuel, everything like that. Obviously, you can get a lot more, or it could get less if you're kind of running it as like a ghost ship. But something like Afra, the amount of teak there and the amount of work and maintenance, that's I think why it is marketed or why it's listed for so cheap and it's still on the market and it's been on the market, I think, for about a year. Just that is kind of, it's an incredible thing to look at, but I can imagine it would be a nightmare to own.
Do you think that same opinion for like a smaller vessel like the Riva Anniversaria? Did I say it right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the Anniversario is an interesting one. So that's actually, so it's a made by Riva. They made 18 of those models between 2022 and 2023 or 2021 and 22. That's a really special one. It's actually fiberglass with mahogany finishes on top. So that's like a perfect in between where you still get the great look of something that is kind of a classic teak or mahogany boat, but the maintenance is going to be a lot less. Now, if we look to like vintage, like classic Rivas from the 60s, where that was like the inspiration behind it. Carlo Riva pretty much saw Chris Crafts in like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and saw those and was like, okay, how can we put an Italian flair on that? And that's kind of what started the entire Riva brand. And that's what made those like kind of luxury runabout day boats famous. Those boats are different because they're like 30 between like 25 and 35 feet, much easier to maintain. You can take them out of the water, put them on a trailer, maintain them super easily. I was at an event in Lake Tahoe in August, and it was the Lake Tahoe Concours d'Elegance, but all focused on classic boats. So you could see all these incredible wood boats in the water, and all these people care so deeply about maintaining these classic finishes and everything like that. Really incredible boats, but definitely a lot easier to maintain. Something like a really like a pristine 1965 Riva is going to be like $1 million, or around that, anywhere from like 750 probably to like 1.1 for like the really nice ones.
Just so our audience knows what we're talking about, these Rivas are the ones that you would see in Lake Como
Yeah.
or Venice, those beautiful
Yes.
wooden boats. They're almost like, I think they're taxis services use them.
Yeah. So it's the classic ones. They usually are either going to have like a teal leather interior or an orange. Those are the two colors they're primarily like alternating between. And they're the classic shot on Lake Como or Lake Iseo is going to have some of those.
Right. So to see this, so our audience knows, to see this yacht, the Afra, in all wood, it's unbelievable teak. It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's kind of an engineering marvel, but I think it's one of those things where it financially shouldn't exist. Because I mean, making it is one thing, but maintaining it, like I don't know if the cost of ownership is worth having that because you're paying such a premium for that look, which is interesting. Who knows? I mean, it's been on the market for a little. We'll see if someone wants to take on that ownership journey.
Incredible. Okay, so Ira, I just want to talk about what was your aha moment that you had all this knowledge about yachting, that you wanted to work in this field? I mean, what's like the day in a life look like for you? You talk about going to these yacht shows, you're on the water, you're capturing content. Give us a little picture into a snapshot of your life.
So initially, I was working at a fishing media company and doing a lot of marketing in Southern California for them. And I noticed all the largest contracts were coming from boating and yachting brands. It was brokerages, it was manufacturers. And I was like, okay, clearly these brands have way more to spend on marketing. So we should pivot and focus on them. At the time, the company I was working at wasn't really ready to make that pivot and focus strictly on yachting. And so I saw that as my opportunity to start my own company, which was 2 years ago. And so I switched, targeted specifically yachting. And ever since then, it's just been a whirlwind. And so I started in fishing and then kind of entered this more as someone with less of like, obviously I had a boating background from the fishing thing, but less on the luxury super yacht side of things. So it's just been a world of education over the past 2 years, learning as much as I can. And I think why I've garnered so much success on social media. I mean, we've gotten pretty much since March like 120 million views. So a ton of people have seen this world now. And I think why people are able to relate to it is because I approach it from an outsider. I didn't grow up in that world. And so I'm able to offer what I've learned in a really approachable way. So people are able to understand these. And there's a couple social media tricks like making everything at a sixth grade reading level so it's easy to understand. And so there's these certain ways that I'm able to communicate. So someone who doesn't necessarily know a lot about boats can come to the content and understand and get a snapshot into this world. That's what I think the value is. And so that aha moment specifically for this was in March when I made my first, I've been doing social media marketing since 2019, but I made my first kind of green screen style content, the stuff that I've since become known for. And the very first video I did 2.3 million views. And so I was like, all right, I struck gold here. And ever since then, it's been a whirlwind.
Well, we've noticed, and everybody else
I
is
believe
going to notice, and we believe it too. I mean, this is incredible, just, peek inside this whole industry we wouldn't normally get to see. It's inspiring, it's aspirational living, it's everything that we love talking about here on this show.
Lux living, definitely.
Absolutely. It's interesting because none of these mega yachts are a smart financial decision. There's definitely a part of it that is, business yacht ownership. A lot more of these younger buyers are chartering them out to offset ownership costs. But buying a mega yacht is really what you do when you want to light money on fire. And so it is the epitome of disposable income.
I mean, is that saying true? That famous saying, the first day of ownership and the last day of ownership? Same thing for a mega yacht?
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to that because I'm not at that wealth level yet. But I would imagine at that level, you are in a sense a farther degree removed from the purchasing and from the selling. At that level, the depreciation of these yachts is expected, and so and the purchases and the selling of them is so complicated. There are teams of brokers handling that, and so if you're worth $5 billion, whether you sell your yacht for 200 million or 180 million, it probably doesn't matter to as much as it might for someone who's selling their own boat personally and really enjoying when they get to sell it and when they're buying one. So I think on that scale, it has less of it's more of a lifestyle focus. And for them, it's the time that they get to experience rather than the actual transaction.
Where is the shift happening where buyers are actually taking their yachts? Where are they showing up these days?
Definitely. From what I've seen, traditionally, there was more focus on East Coast and South Florida. But I think with a lot of these new tech billionaire yacht owners, I see more spending time in Cabo, Costa Rica, kind of doing this West Coast passage from Costa Rica to Cabo, stopping off in Southern California, San Francisco, and then British Columbia and Alaska. I know a few charter yachts in Alaska that have like booked out summer seasons. It's a completely different charter experience for these guests. They might be used to going to the Med and having, relaxing beach days in the south of France. In Alaska, they get to see orcas, glaciers, bears, and it's this whole different kind of ecotourism that I see becoming a lot more popular.
Well, Ira, I can't thank you enough. You are a wealth of knowledge, and obviously, I'm going to continue to watch you, and I know our audience is going to eat this up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Please tell everyone how they could find you and watch your reels.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love kind of showing this aspect of my world too, and clearly a lot of people have enjoyed it as well. So I'm going to continue to do so. If you want to tune in on Instagram, it's waldman.media. On TikTok, it's Waldman Media. Website is www.waldman.media. That's for the actual business side of it, which is the marketing services that we offer to yacht brokerages.
Sign up, people. He's great.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Ira.
Thank you so much.